All right, so thank you for joining us for the first co-design meeting of the Go for Healthy Growth campaign. We are really excited to get together to discuss a little bit more about the campaign goal, what we know and the context that we have in the place of Miami Gardens as we are moving towards a healthy restaurant policy. And did I see Jesse Punder here too? Where did he go? No, he left us. Okay, we have another person that I thought was going to join us that I thought was here, but it's not now. Okay. Oh, can you still see the presentation? Okay, that's good. That's good to know. All right, 1 second. Let me make sure. My apologies, y'all. I'm having some technical.
You're fine.
You gotta finish your sentence.
In case. Okay. All right. So now I have to find where the presentation went for me. Oh, there we go. Okay. Perfect. So like I said, we're really excited to kind of get together, learn a little bit, share a little bit more about the campaign goals and what we can start kind of figuring out for this healthy restaurant policy proposal. So I'm gonna go over, we're gonna do a quick welcome and icebreaker. We're gonna do a quick poll. Then I'm gonna go over some of the things that we already all know about the program, but just to kind of review it for those that are new. And then we're going to go into the framework. What are the different tools and strategies that we're using to get to where we want to go? And then we're going to break into small groups to discuss healthy restaurant policy ideas. Okay. So our general objectives are to learn more about Go for Healthy Growth and how we are going to be building this project together and the healthy policy in particular. For that, we're going to be reviewing some existing policies and looking at some examples so that they can help us guide what is out there and help us understand what is feasible for Miami Gardens. And then we're going to start thinking about what is feasible for Miami Gardens, what would be some of the challenges or concerns that we may have with specific policies, and then just open that up for the rest of the partners to share a little bit more about what you're doing. We'll do a little bit of updates before that, but overall, we really want to hear from you. So before we want to start with a poll, so I'm going to put a poll up. If you are on your computers, please answer the following questions. There is 2 initial questions, so please just take the time to answer both. And then once you're done, you just have to click submit, and I'll know that you've participated. Okay, almost everybody is done. That's great. Okay, one more person that we don't have. There we go. All right, so everybody's responded. So I'm gonna end the poll now and I'm gonna share the results. So as you can see, we have a majority of people living in Miami Gardens and the city of Miami, but then there's a few of other people joining from different places. We have people that work in food distribution, pantries, health navigation, technical assistance, majority of people that work in physical activity and nutrition, but then also some people that work in food rescue and waste and transportation and mobility and other aspects. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning, or afternoon already. This one I'm going to be done for now, and then we'll do another one at the end. Thank you for participating. All right, and now we're gonna go into a Jamboard. As I'm opening up the Jamboard, if we could go around really quickly, just your name, your position, or your organization, and then I'll put the Jamboard link on the chat. So just go ahead and popcorn it. So my name is Arely Lozano. I am the Senior Program Manager at Urban Health Partnerships. And let's see, Ebony, why don't you go next, please?
I'm Ebony Johnson, Executive Director at the Resource Room. Isabel.
Hello, sorry. I'm Isabel. I'm the Public Health Project Assistant at UHP. I will pass it on to Tiffany.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Gray. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I'm the Outreach and Training Coordinator with UHP. Sam.
Oh. Hi, everyone. Sam Hopwood, South Florida Regional Director with Florida Impact End Hunger. And Tiara, I saw you already talking, so you go right ahead.
Yes, I'm Tiara Jackson. I am the Community Outreach Assistant with Urban Health Partnerships. Trinika, you can go introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Trinika Dufresne with the Resource Room, and I am the Growth and Innovation Director.
Trinika, pass it on.
Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle McCall with Flippany Program Manager. I'm a part of the public health team. I'm looking forward.
Thank you, Michelle. It's sounding like you may have, we're losing you a little bit, but I think we heard the majority of what you said.
I'll go next. I'll pretend she nominated me.
Thank you, Amy.
I'm Amy, and I work with Michelle at Flippany. She's the program manager. I think she was greeting you all with well wishes. I'm the director of public health at Flippany. And Lana, why don't you go next?
Thanks, Amy. I'm Lana Shahabadeen from Flippany. I'm a public health program coordinator at our organization, and I will call on Peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peace, and I'm a public health specialist with the UF IPIS Extension Family Nutrition Program. I think everybody's gone. Maybe not Cindy.
I think I'm the last one. Hi, guys. My name is Cindy Marceline. I'm the community liaison for UF, and I'm happy to be here.
I should have done this a long time ago. Duh. I'm sorry. I'm not the best with the Zoom management, but thank you all for sharing a little bit about you. And now I'm going to share my screen on the Jamboard for those of you that are not able to log into it. But we had another introductory question. What brought you to join us today, right? And we have some people, we already kind of put some ideas in there, but if you wanted to just join the Jamboard, I put the link on the chat. All you gotta do is click on this little sticky note icon. You can change the color of the icon if you want, and then put something that brought you here today. All right. So if anybody else wanted to add some things, please feel free to do that. We're gonna take another couple minutes to let people that are just joining figuring it out. Again, you click on the link, it opens it up, type up, and that's it. And then if you want to get creative, or if you're a kind of organizing person, feel free to organize your Post-its too. Okay. I wanted, these are great. So We want to learn more about restaurant policies, learn more about furthering healthy initiatives in the area.
Can I like other people's?
Well, you know what, actually, I have done that. And what I do is I sign on to it. So I grab the text and I put like, really, like, I like that too, type of thing. But that's just me. If you do want to say like yes to somebody, please do put your name to something.
I didn't even know that we can do that, Aurelia. That's cool.
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Yep. So it's like
Yeah, I didn't either. So I'm liking this.
And you can actually, so I could use a pointer too, like if I wanted to. Oh, you could actually like, so look at this one right here, see? And then another one that maybe could work for liking could be just circling. Oh, but never mind. Circle actually doesn't work. Oh, maybe if I make it transparent. There we go. There you go. So that could also work as one that we like, or to group them. So these are the cool things about Jamboard that I think are cool, that we can become very creative with, right? And I think anything that you don't like, I think it has 3 dots on the side, and you can always click on the 3 dots and delete. Yeah. All right.
So how do I know who's me? How do I know who I am?
I think if you have Google accounts, it should tell you your name. If you like, for
example,
but
I'm not signed in. That's why.
Yeah, but you're an anonymous, so you see like here, for example, that the person that is on top of the one that has my name under it, it's Tiara, because it has that T. Oh, she moved. Or never mind. No, that was Trunika. That was Trunika. Yeah, that was Trunika, because I see the picture of Tiara on this one now. Okay, so that's cool. But yeah, so if you have a Google account, it tells you who you are based on those little location pins, like, oh, this is me, this is where I'm at. But if you're not, you're gonna be like an anonymous animal, and that's how Google does it. But if you want to vote on something that you liked, please, oh, I like this too. You can also vote that way. And this is going to stay active throughout the meeting, so you don't have to just finish it up right now. If you want to go back and forth on it, please do. But now I'm going to move us on to the next thing. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Please, like I said, feel free. But like what we were reading, a lot of the things that we're all here for is to figure out this new project that is here in Miami Gardens, try to figure out what the healthy restaurant policy is and how we can work around it. And then obviously try to figure out what different stakeholders are thinking in this area, okay? So back to the presentation, I need to share it again. Again, my management of Zoom, sometimes it's not the best, but here we go. I remembered to go back. So we're back on the PowerPoint, and already went over this, already went over that, already went over that. So now I'm just going to do a really quick overview of the project. Like I said, I think most of you already are very aware of it. So this is just going to be a refresher and maybe highlights a couple new questions. But Matt, we are Urban Health Partnerships. Our mission is to invest in communities by co-designing sustainable change and promoting health equity throughout the lifespan so that we can all live happier, healthier lives in our communities. And the way that we do it is through community-driven leadership and with 3 main areas of focus, which include healthy streets and public spaces, age-friendly communities towards longevity, and food access, security, and justice. This particular project would fall under the food access, security, and justice piece, as we are dealing with healthy food access options. The community-driven leadership model, like as you saw in the image previously, it kind of goes around everything that we do, because everything that we do is grounded and surrounded by community-driven leadership. Because if we don't do it with community, we are not really going towards sustainable change in our communities. The way that we do it is through the community liaison framework, where we work with community members like Cindy, like Tiara, and like others in other areas that help us connect to their communities a lot better, and then bring information from community members and different stakeholders to help us co-design these opportunities together a little bit better. All of it is with the purpose of integrating and developing integrating all the people involved and creating development towards sustainable change around policy systems and environmental change. For that reason, this project kind of goes really in line with what the UHP does. We want to create a healthy restaurant policy proposal that will be presented to the city for them to consider and to take into account for the implementation of such a policy in the future. And obviously our goal would be to identify another funding entity that we can go for the implementation piece. So this is the planning, and then we can go for another grant that is the implementation. And a lot of the work that we're doing now is really going to help us make that very successful and effective. But aside from the development of the healthy restaurant proposal, we also want to strengthen the existing communication loop that has been developing in Miami Gardens. Through the Live Healthy Miami Gardens initiative, you all have been doing, everybody here has been doing a lot of great work in connecting with each other and community members, and the municipality itself, the leaders, the staff that works with Live Healthy Miami Gardens, and the different people that are elected officials there. So it's already there, it's already been happening. We just want to help figure out ways to make it stronger, more efficient, and in a way that is going to also help include all of the voices in the community, including the youth, the restaurant owners, and other partners, and other members of the community. And then finally, we're also going to be working on a youth-centered media campaign that will be towards the end of the project, but we're working with Ebony and Trinica and the resource room to also work with the youth so that they can also help us design that campaign, so they can tell us what they would like to say, how they would like to say it, and then figure out ways to support it and broadcast it throughout the network so that it helps us really strengthen that advocacy loop. So as you see, all of those goals are interconnected and they really kind of help support each other. And right now in our timeline at the bottom, we are still in our explore and discover phase in June, and we'll be moving down the line as we go. We have our project leadership team, which is really awesome. We have coordinating agency UHB. We have our funder and technical assistance through the Center for Science in the Public Interest. Our target group leaders and expert partners are Flippany and the resource room. And then we also have partners and collaborators through the Live Healthy Miami Gardens initiatives, such as FEED, the Florida Impact to End Hunger, the University of Florida, and all of the other partners that are involved in the Healthy Retail Subcommittee, as well as the Physical Activity and Nutrition Subcommittee of the initiative. So our goal is to work with all of these partners, especially in these two work groups or subcommittees, so that we can learn from you, learn from what you know, learn from what you do, integrate more community liaisons into the mix and participate in all of the different activities, and then expand our collaborations through these efforts, but also to invite you to come to the policy co-design to help us with the community partner outreach and assessment that we're going to be conducting through this project. Our framework. So this is kind of where we get a why do we do the things that we do and the way that we do them. So we use collective impact, policy systems, and environmental change, and an 8 steps towards a successful action plan, community action plan. That's really how we ground a lot of our efforts. Why these, you might say? Well, collective impact helps us identify a common agenda, common progress measures, mutually reinforcing activities, communications, and a backbone organization. And those are the pieces that, according to a lot of research, really make collective approaches very effective. So by following this idea of getting together to develop similar common things that we can all be in agreement with, we can continue to drive the needle forward a lot stronger together. And campaigns like this, things being on the same path, it's a very helpful way to get things into existence, especially when we come to talk about policy. And now talking about policy, we also follow the Policy Systems and Environmental Change, or PSC approach, which tells us that in order to build true sustainability in all of our efforts, we need to be thinking about policies. So what are the regulations that help us keep these things in place? Systems, what are the organized methods or processes in which we get to those things? And environmental changes, which are what are the physical space and social space changes that can also help get to those long-term improvements. All of this comes together, both the collective impact and the policy systems and environmental change all come together through the 8 steps towards building a successful community action plan process that we use here at UHB that takes us from developing the goal, to understanding our knowledge, assessing our social networks, identifying what's motivating the different parties, coming together to identify what are the things that move us all together. And then from that place of intersection, come together to propose and implement change, and then monitor and assess and reassess the different things that we're doing. Today, what we're going to be doing is really going to be just focusing on these first 3 steps, because we're going to be talking about what we know about healthy restaurant policies, how are we connected in the municipality and in Miami Gardens, and how can we use that network and that network and context to also support what we are doing. Because our goal here is to develop a healthy restaurant policy proposal for the city that is going to be grounded on community voice. Sorry, I forgot. And then again, I already kind of went over this, but I'd like to have it as a final thought, why we use collective impact PSCs and the community action planning process. Well, because it helps us ensure that more stakeholders are involved, helps us ensure that there's more voices at the table. And as like I explained at the beginning meetings, the first meetings tend to be a lot smaller, but then our goal is that through this effort, we'll continue to grow and bring more diversity and more inclusion of different people from the community into this process. And sometimes it may not even be through the meetings, because we know that a lot of the people that we want to talk to may be at work right now, maybe doing something else and cannot be able to attend, but we have to think of the different ways in which we can continue to integrate people in the community through the process. So like I mentioned earlier, at the beginning, working with Flippany and the resource room, we're already started conversations about assessment, like how are we going to talk to youth and or restaurants respectively about what we are doing, and how are we going to bring them to the table too. So a lot of the times, maybe we're going to have to hold a meeting at a restaurant when the manager or the owner is there, because they're there, so let's think of creatively. Maybe we could come to the youth, maybe Flippany and UHP can come to the resource room or something like that. So these are things that we can co-design, continue to think about, so that we can make sure that more of the voices in the community are part of the process. Because at the end of the day, if we are really working towards a healthy restaurant policy proposal that we want to make effective in Miami Gardens, it is going to be to the best of our successes and the best of our impacts, to make sure that community members are always involved. And okay, so for this, we're going to actually start the conversation today to start kind of diving through some of the more tedious, I guess, but we try to simplify it as much as possible for all of us, but more of the tedious things of the getting to know the knowledge and what's out there and what people have found out. We wanted to do a lot of the legwork. And so today we're going to review some of what we found, so that then with your help, we can help better outline and identify things that we can then bring to a larger audience, right? To say like, okay, we're going to take a look at these examples, and then from the examples that we're going to get today, we're going to dive into them better, see what is more feasible here in Miami Gardens, and then from there identify some of the potential policies that could be feasible in Miami Gardens, so that then we can continue to have a broader conversation about them. So before we get started, the larger goal, which was not in that first circle I shared, because what that was summarized, is to co-design a healthy restaurant policy proposal with Miami Gardens diverse stakeholders, and focusing on integrating the local restaurants and the youth in particular. Today, we're going to be doing steps 1 through 3. We're going to scan existing policies regulating restaurants across the United States. We are going to be discussing some of the policy highlights, potential changes, and implementation considerations related to these policies that we'll be scanning. And from the scan policies, we'll identify our top 5 examples of the ones that we thought were the most feasible, or the ones that had the potential for largest impact in the city of Miami Gardens. And then after we're all done with that today, moving forward, UHP will work with partners to continue to gather, document, and assess the stakeholder feedback, and help guide the co-design of the healthy restaurant proposal through the series of 4 co-design meetings. So this is the first co-design meeting. We're going to have 3 more throughout the exploration phase and a little bit into the building momentum. So the last one will be kind of the assessment one, where we're going to look at how can we build more momentum. But for now, we're going to get started to identify the policies, and then try to figure out what makes sense for Miami Gardens, because a lot of the times what we see is that we have a lot of great policies out there, but we don't always know if they're going to work where we're at. And a lot of the times, and I know that those of you that work around policy know very well that working with the policy first, and it tends to be a lot more difficult than if we maybe start with the community engagement through the policy, so that then we're already aware of what's happening. So hopefully this will be a good approach that we can all do together, pilot, see how it works. And then if it was very effective, we can continue to use this model as a policy advocacy or policy education and policy support framework in the future. Because again, like I said, getting the most people to be part of the conversation is going to be just more effective at the end. Because if any of you that are familiar with the political process, that the passing of a policy, municipal leaders still need community members to support the policies, right? So if we're already working with community members to be aware and educated and understanding of what and even guiding and leading the policies that we're writing, then it's going to be even easier for community members to get on board. So now I'm going to pass it on, and this is going to be what we're going to be focusing on, the breakouts. So now before we go into the breakouts, I want to bring in Ms. Isabel Andrade, who actually helped develop the policy matrix that we're going to be looking at today. And she's going to give us a little brief overview of what is a healthy restaurant policy and what is the healthy restaurant policy that we put together for our review.
Okay, thank you, Arely. So what is a healthy restaurant policy? So these can be ordinances or amendments or resolutions towards something. They help inform whether we want to establish a healthy meal and or a beverage standard or goals. They tend to regulate three things, or just meals or just beverages, or they can be both. They can have incentives, or they can have penalties, so that way we can enforce the specific policy. So this is the policy matrix that we created. So just to give you an overview of what the matrix is going to tell us, it is a summary of the policies that we found that target default beverages, default meals, or both. We can see here whether it's an ordinance or if it's a Senate bill or if it's a council bill. We also see the amount of time it took from when the bill is signed until it was enacted. Sometimes it can take a little more time depending on the circumstances of a specific place, or I don't know, it depends on how long it takes the bill to actually pass. You can see the policy details and the enforcement details, and it gives you as an overview of what policies are out there, how long it took to enact them, the phrasing they used, and how they enforce them. Some of them are pretty lenient, others are very strict. It all depends on the place. The default beverages tend to be the same, and there's more variability when we talk about meals. Some of them, or what they determine as healthy. For example, there's one that talks about a lean protein, and there are others that gives us a specific examples on many vegetables, how many grams of fat or sugar, and so forth. So that's just an overview. We can go into detail after this, but just so you have an idea of what the matrix tells us.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And yeah, so I'll be sharing the couple links with you. You'll have access to a handout that we put together with the matrix for you. But before we go into our breakouts, I would like us all to go into the Jamboard waiting room. I think if somebody could repost the link for the Jamboard, if y'all have left it, Tiara or
I can repost it.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then so we can go back to the Jamboard, and now we're going to actually move. If you see I'm gonna stop sharing on the right, and then now we're gonna share on this side. Okay, all right, okay. So now what you're here, you'll see at the top, there's a double box kind of screen looking thing. If you go to the right just once to number 2, we have a quick question for you to think about. And as you are filling out the question is, what policies do you see impacting your life directly, if any? And And it could be, we have some examples there from some of us that have already shared, but please feel free to add your post-its. And then in the meantime, I know you've already heard from Cindy and Tiara, but I wanted them to have 1 more minute each, just to share a little bit more about you and your connection to Miami Gardens. Because Tiara and Cindy are going to be facilitating our breakouts. So just FYI. And that's why I wanted to get a little bit more. So Cindy or Tiara, you decide which one goes first, but you two tell us a little bit more about you while we do this, what policies impact our life.
I can start. So I have been a resident of Miami Gardens for probably like a year and a half. I grew up in the area when I was like in my middle school years, and I had a lot of family that lived in Carroll City and the surrounding area. So going to basketball games, going to like local flea markets and just like different things that was in the area was a huge part of my teenage years and growing up. And being able to move back into Miami Gardens has been something that was really exciting for me. And like seeing the potential and seeing where it used to be and where it's going, it's definitely something that's really passionate for me. Being able to help cultivate an amazing community with residents' help is something that I enjoy. I came across Urban Health Partnerships about a year ago and started as a community liaison and just kind of grew into the team. So that is a little bit more about me and my connection to Miami Gardens.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Cindy. I've been a resident in the city of Miami Gardens since 2008. So I actually moved to Miami Gardens as an adult. I bought my first home in this city. I have no plans on leaving. So why not get involved in the community? So I actually reached out to UHP during COVID because just a little background, I am a teacher and I was sitting home during COVID and an opportunity to become a liaison popped up on my timeline and I decided to apply. Long story short, I did start off with a social media project where I would share my experience bike riding in Miami Gardens because in addition to teaching, I'm also an indoor spin instructor. So I love Miami Gardens. I take pride in the city where I live, and I want to be able to use my city in every capacity of my life, not just as a homeowner, but I just like the fact that I can walk out, go jogging, walk out, go bike riding. And now with this new project, I'm looking forward to seeing us implement something that will now allow me to have access to healthy food in my city. So my goal here is to, like Tiara said, cultivate the city that we live in, you know, get out of the habit of reaching out to other cities or other neighboring areas to obtain services that we could have right here in our neighborhoods. So it's a personal, it's a job, but it's personal.
Thank you so much, Cindy and Tiara. Really appreciate you having you both on the team, definitely. Okay, so now I am going to assign all of you to random breakout groups, and Tiara and Cindy, just bear with me. I'll make sure that you are in different ones. I'm going to stop sharing. Remember, you have the link to the Jamboard on the chat. If you want to continue to put ideas in there, you're welcome to do so, but I'm going to stop sharing it now. Perfect. And I will put up the questions before, as we are doing the breakouts. I want to put these initial questions up so that you know that as we are going to, oh, also, and Isabel or Tiffany, if you could put the group 1 and group 2 handouts as well on the chat as well, that would be great. Please and thank you. While I
do that.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. All right, so I'll put these questions up because they'll help us guide our conversation, but then you also start seeing the links in the chat. I would say copy both, because then when I put you in your breakout, you may not have access to the main chat. So just copy them and then bring them with you to your breakout. So I'm going to leave that screen shared, but I'm going to start getting people to the breakout rooms, okay? Okay. All right, and now I just gotta make sure Tiara's in one and Cindy is in another one. All right. All right, so I am opening up the rooms now. Please pay attention to your screens. You're gonna say join room. Please join the room. They must be having a really good conversation on the other group because they were like, no, we're not done yet.
Yeah, we did too. I think that, you know, a lot of our input and notes and ideas, we've kind of have like a loose outline of what our policy can look like, a hybrid.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I really like that, like with including the incentive that we discussed earlier. And then if, you know, you're not doing these things, then maybe $20 to $50 fines if need be.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree that maybe instead of selecting like our top 5 policies, what we do need to do is just like our top 5 things that we like, right? So I definitely think that cultural sensitivity is going to be a big piece.
Yeah.
Also, the hybrid like incentive penalty mix, because then it'll also allow us to be more lenient with some and be more difficult with those that are already there. Like we could even, the way that they even put it in some of the land use that I've seen, they have, if a certain place is bigger than a certain size, right? If it's a larger space, they are the ones that have to abide to specific additional rules or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But we'll wait for the rest of the group to come out. Oh, y'all are back. Perfect.
Yeah.
How did it go? So from group 1, would somebody like to tell us just in a few sentences what the main highlights of your conversation were?
Well, I'll start off, but my team can definitely join in. Cindy was our facilitator. She did an excellent job. We got off task in a good way. So with that being said, we focused a lot on other ideas of what could be implemented to help the remaining of the community. So we're looking at kids. We talked about, you know, the toy system being a great advantage of getting little kids to buy in to choose healthier foods. But we left out a huge segment of the population, meaning our adolescents. Adolescents could care less about a toy, you know, and so it was pointed out that we need to have a system in place for some of the adolescents, meaning maybe if they need some community service hours, then they'll be able to, if they pick a healthier choice, then they'll be able to get community service hours. Or if they do a social media post about why they chose this food at this particular restaurant, then they'll get some community service. Whatever they need is something that the restaurant can buy into to say, okay, we'll give you X, Y, and Z because you promoted us or because you chose this food, blah, 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 blah. So that was one big component that we noticed that was kind of left out when we're talking about kids, is that we're talking about small kids, not the adolescents. And then Ebony, because I had to step away, can you explain the slow, I don't even mess it up, I'm gonna mess it up, jack it all the way up. So can you explain that one, please?
Right, so Arlie, you want to share with that? So I was telling them about the Go Slow Whoa and how that may be a great way for us to incorporate that, an easy way to incentivize even some of the restaurants, because we talked about how making sure we don't want to put a burden on them. What will be the pushback? And we talked about possible costs, so upfront things that would make them have to change. And so if we did things like the Go Slow Whoa, that's as easy as a sticker, you know, just putting there, doesn't give them so much upfront. It also was a way, because I shared with everyone that we had some round talks with the children. That was how the beginning stages of this. And our students couldn't they didn't want anything healthy. They was like, I go to fast food restaurants for the fat food. You know, so where were we going going to get this buy-in if we wanted to make changes for children. So I had to get them a little bit upset about, you know, the differences between one community and the choices in other communities. And then we started bringing in Glow So Whoa. And so the objective for this summer is for us to be able to do that around our foods and our snack shop that we have, just so that language can change, so kids can begin to say, I got 3 goals, I got 2 slow, you know, those kind of things, so they can identify what's healthy or not. And then I was using that same example to say that can be a policy and or a way that we can use to create this and create synergy or a buy-in, even with the children and the restaurants.
Thank you, Ebony.
It just sounds really cool, because it sounds like your group talked a lot about the systems and the process. And our group was focused on the policy, but we also we didn't talk specifically about the policies that we were looking at, but we used those as a way to start thinking of ideas that would or wouldn't work here. And then one of the things that popped out really quickly was cultural sensitivity, right? Like making sure that we're always aware that, for example, when we're talking about beverage standards, in the beverage standards, they talk about 100% fruit juice. And when we think about 100% fruit juice, you think of the one that you go buy at the store. But hey, majority of restaurants, local restaurants in Miami Gardens, they make their own juice. So could we make that part of the policy where it's like the local produced juices that have less than this amount of sugar are a go? You know, and now we're blending it with the system, right? Now these are a go, so let's go for it.
Yes, I love it.
And then someone else also pointed out what would be feasible in Miami Gardens is the fact of the penalty of charging $1,000 if they exceed civil penalty in an amount not to exceed $1,000. That would be more feasible in Miami Gardens because they point out that there are more chain restaurants in Miami Gardens, which means they should have a little bit more moolah in their pocket to be able to afford those fees. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue if that were to come up.
All right, and that also makes me think of what we discussed on our group where we talked about, do we have to put the same type of policy for all of the restaurants, or is there differences? And I think we're at the end, we decided that I think it sounds like we need an incentivizing option for the local smaller restaurants, but then also have like, okay, there is other problems for bigger places. But also if you are a smaller one and you still you don't comply after a certain amount of time, then there might be some support that you can receive from partners or other people to help you get back on track. Or then later, there might be some small affordable penalties or a warning or something like that. But we really were leaning more away from penalties for smaller restaurants and more about the penalties for the larger fast food chains and things like that. But we still have to navigate those questions a little bit more. And I know we're really running out of time now. Is there any last thoughts or last comments to make from anybody that participated?
Oh, Ebony, you're on mute.
Talk about the chains real quick. Maybe we can also look smaller to see if the local franchise restaurants are not following the corporation chains in our community. You know, and so I think about an example is I think the Burger King that's right there by the resource room doesn't have light lemonade, but the one right here off of Ives Dairy has light lemonade as a choice, right? So does corporation say all Burger King should have at least one light choice and is not the one in Miami Gardens following protocol? So that could be small ways of looking at the larger restaurants because they already have a policy. They're just not following it. And this to make sure that they are at least following, you know, at least their corporation policies that on nutrition.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, I think Jesse started this conversation in our group about educating business owners on nutrition and calorie counting, because we can ask them to do this, but if they understand it, if they're educated on it, the buy-in is there. And someone else was mentioned, I think it was Michelle mentioned how, you know, the relationship, when I'm going into a restaurant to order food, I mean, oftentimes I order based off of what is recommended to me, but if that sales associate has now taken this class on nutrition and I'm walking in and it's obvious I just came from the gym, recommend something to me that's going to fuel my body, not have me dragging the rest of the day because it's filled with carbs. But if the education is there, then that conversation will be totally, totally different.
I agree. And I'm so glad Jesse was able to join us. Jesse, are you back in Miami Gardens yet?
No, I'm still taking a very slow moving process.
Okay.
To get back from school.
All right, but he'll be back eventually and we'll get to see him hopefully. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. I know we're out of time, but I do want to finish up the presentation because there's a couple things and I also want to hear from you. I just think that we really had great conversations and I'd rather hear what you said. We'll make sure to consolidate all the notes. And one of the things that we want to do is we'll send back some of the highlights. So, and one of the things that I said, we're not going to select the top 5 policies, but the top 5 highlights of the different things. And yes, Isabel, don't worry if you need to go. If anybody needs to go, please go. But yeah, we're going to identify the top 5 highlights that came up from the conversations, which is basically what we discussed in this last few minutes. So just to wrap up, I'm going to give you quick updates on a few things. But like I said, if you have to go, I completely understand. But if you can hold on for 5 more minutes, we should be good to go. Okay. So our next steps, we have, oh no. So communications update. Alba is working with us on developing a communications toolkit. The idea of this communications toolkit is that it's going to be an informational and engagement campaign between July and November around this project to help educate. This is really more about the education part, not necessarily so much about the campaign. Let's go and get this policy because we don't even have a policy yet. We want to get people to understand why we're even talking about a policy and then start talking to us about a policy. So we want to inform community members, engage them around the topics that we're discussing, support the outreach and engagement and assessment of our project, and then also serve this toolkit is going to serve as a template for the youth at the resource room who are going to be developing their own campaign towards the end of the project. So that's really exciting. And then we also want to coordinate with all of you as part of this campaign. If there are opportunities that you have coming up, so campaigns of your own that you have broadcasting, events that are coming up in the community or different things that are happening and you want us to also use to we can use this campaign plan as a way to highlight things between July and November, especially as they are related to healthy eating, healthy nutrition, physical activity within Miami Gardens. So as long as those checks or those boxes are checked, let me know because we can infuse a lot of this information, and particularly for the resource room and Flippany, you two, we're going to have a separate meeting to discuss what are the things that we're highlighting from each of you. But that's the whole idea. And then we have 2 new logos, but one is more old, the other one is newer, updated, based on all the feedback. So thank you all for participating in the voting of the logo. But now we have these 2 new options. So as you see, the one on the left looks very similar to the one we saw before. That was option A, I believe that was actually the winner by far. And most people selected the one on the left, but it used to say campaign at the bottom and campaign just wasn't personal enough. So a few people made that comment. Miami Gardens gives it that grounding. And then the one on the right, a lot of people did also comment that they loved that healthy was in green and not the other words. So that kind of stayed and stuck. And then also a lot of people did like the marker of the marker, but they also mentioned that it had something missing, right? So as a result, our designer looked at it and said, well, why don't we make a hybrid marker, right? Like a marker, because it looks like a location marker. And then it has this little leaf now, which makes it a little bit more about growth and the food and the water and making sure that people are growing, but it also helps identify potential locations. It's also green, which is also in line with the Go Slow Whoa framework that Ebony brought up. Go is the healthier option. Go is like the traffic light. Go is green, slow is yellow, and whoa is red. So basically following the traffic light, and those are the colors. But if anybody has some really kind of quick thoughts, any preference, left or right, the one as you see them on the screen, left is the one with the fork standing up, right is the one with the marker. Any preference, thoughts?
Like right.
One right over there.
I like the right as well.
Right.
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 Right. Because I really like right, especially because I'm thinking already.
I think you got everyone for right.
I'm
And
thinking
I have no
about the
preference.
way that this is going to, like, in the restaurant. Imagine if like the meal that is healthy option that we've already worked with the restaurant, the youth have come and voted on their healthy meal and like something like that. Then you can give them a little sticker that says, here it is, that's your healthy option. And it looks just like that. And it's like a little location marker. So that's one of the reasons why I personally was really going for that one. And I also like that the Go for Healthy Growth is kind of like the main piece, right? It's a campaign. We're trying to do something together, and we're gonna try to highlight things. So thank you for your feedback. I'm gonna put that right was highly selected. Any other thoughts or comments on why right? Okay. All right. So before we go on to next steps, I actually wanted to hear from you all. Anybody of the people here have any upcoming events or things that we need to know about that we would like to share with the rest of the group? And at the time, I'm gonna also put out our last poll. So people, if you want to share, please share. Feel free to unmute yourself and share, and then we'll share. I'll put the poll up for everybody else to also support by responding to it as well. So anybody have anything to share while we do the poll? The poll is live. You should see it on your screen. Okay. Have a couple more people left. And I guess we don't have a lot of activities happening right now. All right, we'll give it 30 more seconds. There's, I think, a couple more people left. All right, so everybody seems to be happy with the day. Yay. I'm gonna have to just majority of people were agreeing and strongly agreeing to most of it. So because it's so highly positive, I don't have to share it. All right. So then the next one is just, what are our next steps? We want to have our next co-design meeting where we'll be bringing up the highlights of this meeting and then kind of diving a little bit deeper. We might start actually taking chunks from different policies that actually have policy language that we could look at. Not just summaries, but based on the highlights that you all provided to us today. That's really going to be what's going to ground us to the next level. And then at the same time, we're going to be chatting with Flippany and the resource room to start infusing some of the things that we discussed today into our assessment questions and our assessment strategies for both the restaurants and the youth, because obviously we want them to sign off on things before we even send them to the city. So that would be our next steps. I have 3 date options for August 24th, August 25th, and August 26th. On a Tuesday, the August 24th could be like the same date and time as this. So from 12:30 to 2, or any Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, any of those afternoons are pretty open as well on our end. So if you have any preference off the bat right now, please speak now.
I would say just keep it the same and do August 24th.
If it's gonna be at the same time, I won't be able to attend.
The time is not a good time, Peace?
No, not for me.
Okay, that's good to know. Is it better for you earlier in the day or later in the afternoon?
Earlier in the day would be better for me, but.
Okay. How is everybody else feeling about an earlier? I know the research room might have a difficult, well, actually, no, the day might be, well, y'all tell me, is the morning maybe better for something like this?
The morning
would be.
Morning would be better because around that time school would have started. So morning is definitely better.
Yeah, same here.
All right, so we'll take a look. What we'll do is we'll put these 3 mornings and see, we'll put it out in a doodle. and we'll send it out with the follow-up email. We'll come to you probably by July 1st, and you'll have a meeting recap, the partner survey, the meeting evaluation you already completed, so I'm not gonna send it again. And then we'll send you the registration link for the next meeting. Oh, actually, no, instead of the registration link for the next meeting, I'll send a doodle so that we can schedule the next meeting, okay? All right, perfect. Well, I think that's all for us. Thank you for sticking with us a few more minutes. I appreciate your time. Any last thoughts, questions, or concerns? Oh,
You still wanted the resource room and,
yes, if we can stick around for us to schedule a time to meet, that'd be great.
okay, Trini can stay on too.
Okay.
But I think, oh, yeah. Jesse, thank you for joining us. Peace, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again. I think the rest of the team is gonna stay because we have to schedule our meetings.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care. Talk later, Jesse.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Peace, take care, and thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop.